So, ladies and gentlemen, in a recent podcast, we talked about the combination lacrosse and hockey legend of Jack Bionda. But today, we're going to talk about another heavy lacrosse and hockey influence on every level. We're going to talk about the legend and the Hall of Fame career of Ned Harkness. Now, Ned Harkness, born September 19th, 1919 in Oshawa, was an NCAA head coach of ice hockey and lacrosse at RPI in Cornell and of ice hockey at the prestigious Union College. Harkness was also head coach of the Red Wings for a while and later was the team's GM. He was inducted into the Lake Placid Hall of Fame in 1993, the National Lacrosse Hall of Fame in 2001, and into the RPI Hockey Ring of Honor in 2007. Now, he's also a member of the U.S. Hockey Hall of Fame in Eveleth, Minnesota, having been inducted in 1994. Now, he did grow up in Ontario, but before he became a teenager, his family decided to move to the beautiful community of Glens Falls, New York, which is north of Albany. He officially made the U.S. His home country by becoming an American citizen in 1949. But he graduated previously from the Worcester Academy in 1939. In 1941, Harkness became a volunteer coach for a group of students at RPI in Troy who were interested in forming a lacrosse squad. Now, through that year and the next, the team practiced and scrimmaged with Harkness kind of being the unofficial captain, playing games against 4 varsity programs. Now, although World War II led to the disbanding of the squad, the school formally established a varsity lacrosse program in 1945 when the war ended, and Harkness was tabled as being their first coach. Now, within a year of its establishment, Harkness had RPI ranked among the best lacrosse teams in the country. In 1948, coming off an undefeated season of college play, he took the team to the Olympic Games in London, where the squad representing the States would tie the British All-Star team before 60,000 at Wembley Stadium, while amassing an 8-0-1 record in 9 games played in England as a non-Olympic sport. Now, 1952, while continuing to establish a serious hockey program, he coached the lacrosse team to an undefeated record and the National Lacrosse Championships, winning the Wingate Memorial Trophy, which predated the NCAA lacrosse title, which is kind of the highest level of the amateur sport in the States right now. Now, Harkness' combined lacrosse coaching record at RPR and Cornell was 147, 27, and 2. Now, in 16 seasons, he had an .841 winning percentage, one of the best by any college coach in NCAA history. Again, the Hall of Fame for lacrosse brought him in 2001. Now, he also helped revive the RPI hockey program. Now, following World War II, RPI President Livingston Houston began looking for a way to reestablish hockey at the Institute, and Harkness was willing to lend his assistance. Now, after construction of the Houston Fieldhouse, a very good barn, by the way, was completed in late 1949, the team began playing under Harkness in January of 1950. After leading the team to a 4-6-0 record in that first campaign, Harkness helped form the Tri-State League, which would become the first attempt at league organization of college hockey on the East Coast. Later that year, Harkness devised the RPI Holiday Tournament, which is a great annual tradition, which has taken place every year since 1951. Now, Harkness coached both hockey and lacrosse at RPI throughout most of the 50s and continued coaching hockey into the 1960s. That same year, Harkness led the hockey team to its first tri-state title with a 15-3 record, though the title was later revoked when the team was found abusing an ineligible player. Now, the squad continued to improve rapidly on the ice under Harkness. In 1953, the team won its first official championship as invited to the NCAA tournament that year, taking bronze. The next season, Harkness guided RPI to an 18-5 record, a second straight tri-state title, and a second straight to Colorado Springs for the NCAA finals. Though heavy underdogs, Harkness and his team upset traditional powerhouses Michigan and Minnesota to win the 1954 NCAA championship. Now, Harkness was the head coach of the men's hockey team at RPI from 1950 through 1963. He led the squad to a 176, 96, and 7 record and tournament appearances in the Frozen Four, or the Frozen Four style tournament, in 53, 54, and 61, like I said, winning in 54. Now he's 52 team, averaged 8 goals a game, an NCAA record which stands today. Now we will leave the lacrosse team at 58 to focus on RPI hockey after leading the squad to a record of 112, 26-2 in 14 years, and left RPI hockey in 63 after those NCAA appearances with an overall record of 176, 96, and 7. Now when he moved to Ithaca, New York, it also corresponded with him coaching at Cornell, where he replaced Paul Patton as the head coach of the hockey squad. Now his first year at Cornell, Harkness helped the team to a 12-10-1 record in the fledgling ECAC League. His second season saw the team record team record improved to 19 wins. Now, his stature really rose because he's the one that recruited Ken Dryden, but we'll talk about that very soon. Now, in 66, Harkness bested the previous year's total by winning 22 games while losing only 5 times. The following season, Dryden came to Ithaca to play, and the team began reaping dividends immediately. The 1967 record was an impressive 27-1-1. Now, Cornell participated in the NCAA tournament the first time, with Harkness' second NCAA championship occurred as the Big Red defeated North Dakota and Boston for the title. Boston University, thank you. The domination continued for the remainder of his time at Cornell. The following season, Cornell again went to the NCAA tournament, again with 27 wins, but would lose to North Dakota in the semis before defeating Boston College for third. Harkness again won 27 times in 69, the only regular season loss coming at the hands of his old team at RPI, in a game which later proved to save hockey at his old school a second time. Published reports from that contest basically said he didn't throw the game, but RPI, by beating Cornell, basically reestablished themselves as a tremendous program that was perfected by Harkness. Now, the Cornell would then go on to defeat Michigan Tech in the NCAA tournament semis before losing the championship match to Denver. Now, seemingly with little opportunity to improve upon his team's success, Harkness and his Cornell team achieved what was then a record of undefeated, untied games. In 70, Cornell capped a 29-0 season with victories over Wisconsin and Clarkson in the NCAA tournament, bringing Harkness the third and final NCAA championship, and Cornell's second title in 4 years. Ironically, Harkness and the team accomplished this feat without Dryden, who was most often associated with the dominance of Cornell during the 1960s, because Dryden, of course, had moved on to Montreal in the battle of Vachon and Mir and everybody else for the number one in Montreal, and he won the cup in Montreal in 71. Now, when his coaching record at Cornell was 163, 27-2 over 7 seasons, and amidst his success at the Liner Rink, he returned to coaching lacrosse, leading the Cornell squad to the 66 and 68 Ivy League titles, and reaching an outstanding 35-1 record during his 3 years at the helm. Following the 70 regular season, the big call-up occurred. He left Cornell basically as their best coach ever to coach in the NHL. Now, Harkness was hired by the Detroit Red Wings to become head coach on May 27, 1970. He replaced Sid Abel, who was an interim replacement for Bill Gadsby. Now, Harkness was 12-22-4 with the Red Wings before Doug Barkley was hired to complete the season. Now, Harkness, despite the tough record in the regular season, was promoted to GM by the Red Wings in January 71, where he remained for 3 seasons. Unfortunately, his great success in the college ranks didn't transfer to the Red Wings because he struggled in the early 1970s. Now, Harkness had difficulty learning to coach veteran NHL players, and the team had problems with stability and organization, going through a number of head coaches under his tutelage. Detroit fans still remember this era as a darkness with Harkness, one of the worst periods in franchise history. Ladies and gentlemen, this was the closest that any original 6 team ever come to be either folding or moved. Detroit was pitiful in the early 70s, and when Gordie Howe left, all he had really was some veterans left over. Not until Marcel Dion and Mickey Redmond arrived did fortunes change. Now, after his departure for the NHL, Harkness set his sight on college hockey yet again. He returned to New York's Capital District, where he had lived in Glens Falls and coached the RPI squad. Now, Union College had fielded a hockey team in the early 20th century, but had been unable to bounce back from the loss of the program during World War II. Now, Harkless went to Union and helped create a new program from the ground up. The Achilles Center was built, and Harkless was made rink manager as well as the team's coach. The school began play in NCAA Division III, and with Harkness behind the bench, the team was successful. The Skating Dutchmen finished with a 24-1 record in the 76 season, their first since the 1940s, with a roster primarily of freshmen. Now, Harkness followed up the success with a 22-3-1 record the next campaign, and the U program was well on its way to become a Division II powerhouse. Now, the 78 season started off well for the Skating Dutchmen, and Harkness guiding the squad to a 4-1-1 record in the first 6 games. However, in late December, Harkness abruptly quit the team, and news began to leak that he'd been having disputes with Union administration for quite some time. Now, it was alleged, not proven, that Harkness had violated NESCAC recruiting rules and had lied to Union College President Thomas Bonner about it. But there was widespread suspicion on campus that admissions standards for hockey players had been compromised. Now, many of the Union players are coming in as freshmen, well into their 20s, having played in Canadian Senior A teams, much like Harkness' Cornell protege, Dick Bertrand, a Toronto cop who joined Harkness' squad in his late 20s, was a captain on the undefeated team, and then exceeded Harkness as Cornell coach, continuing in that capacity for 11 seasons. Others were NHL draftees drawn by chance to play for the legendary Harkness, and his plan to jump the team to Division I. Upon hearing of their coach's decision to leave, the entire varsity roster of the Skating Dutchmen decided not to play the remainder of the season in a show of solidarity with the coach. Now, with a team made up of junior varsity intramural players, coached by an inexperienced squad, the Dutchmen will lose their next game 19-1, and will later go on to lose every game on their remaining schedule. Now, in the spring of '78, Harkness was a finalist for a North Dakota head coach position that was later given to John Gino Gasparini. Now, Harkness later served as director of the Glen Falls Civic Center and president of the New York Olympic Regional Development Authority, which ran the facilities in Lake Placid, which hosted again the '80 Olympics. He was responsible for construction of the U.S. Training Center from '89 to '90 and retired from these duties in August '93. He died on September 19, 2008, on his 89th birthday. Now, I really think that Harkness knew how to work the system. There was no way that Harkness was going to lose when he had a chance to win. But what's really bizarre for me, ladies and gentlemen, with the Cornell Big Red, I look at that 1970 season when he went undefeated the whole year. In NCAA history, other than UConn female basketball and some other, obviously the college teams could go 13-0, 14-0, 15-0, whatever. But the quality of opposition to Cornell, the fact we're playing in one of the most competitive NCAA programs in the U.S. I've covered a lot of Division II, but I haven't really had a chance to cover a lot of Division I. But other than University of Maine. But this would be pretty well either his legacy as a motivator allowed that to happen. Because every game you're playing, you could take a period off, you can lose a game, take 10 minutes off, not scoring a power play. There was no question that he was probably one of the greatest coaches in Eastern U.S. history since the time he became a coach. But you see, sometimes the college ranks doesn't transfer to the NHL. But he was put in a no-win situation in Detroit because who would want to coach Detroit in the early 70s? They had nothing, ladies and gentlemen. Tim Ecclestone, really bumper prospects. So that's the story of Ned Harkness. Please give me a like, comment, or subscribe. We just passed 170,000 page hits on our channel very recently. Thanks for everybody for listening. Leave us a comment or request. Requests are important because it's feedback from the good listeners like you to make this channel better and better and better. If you give it, I'll talk about it. And if you like it, tell your friends. If you don't like it, don't tell nobody. Have a good day. Bye.